Your mission, if you choose to accept it, Mr. Steidten, is to sign a striker in January. Yes, everybody watching the Western Network. Good afternoon, West Ham fans. Hope your Monday's going well. Weekends go far too quick, don't they? And what we thought would be a quite relaxing weekend turns out in the last 48 hours to be an absolute shit show, really, when it comes to West Ham. Not only does Mikel Antonio looks like he's only hamstring will be out for up to 3 months, but Jared Bowen is now injured and he's missing the North Macedonia match. He didn't travel with the England squad yesterday for the game today, but he's at home. Could be a blessing in disguise if it's only a minor injury, but we don't know the full extent of his knee injury just yet. I'm sure there's going to be reports coming out in the next few days, or probably you have to wait until maybe the David Moyes press conference before the Burnley game on Friday. But regardless of that, with Antonio definitely out for at least, it could be up to 3 months. With the AFCONs as well, we know that it is it's high on the agenda. They're desperate to get a striker in for January, and it's not a mission impossible. It's a mission possible for Mr. Steidten. So that's what we're going to do today. Go through some of the latest rumours, and we'll do some more Hammer's Head. There's been a bunch in the last sort of 72, 96 hours for sure. So we're just giving you a bit of a quick rundown. So let's crack on. Let's start with the forwards. Let's start with Santiago Gimenez, the final hotshot. 15 goals, 15 appearances so far, including a brace in his Champions League debut. I think he scored something like 12 goals in the Eredivisie, plus 3 assists as well so far. The Mexican international, we know someone who plays for Mexico in our squad, is high on apparently West Ham's list, as well as a number of other clubs, to be honest, as well. The Daily Mirror said that we've been tracking him for some time. We know he's been scouted as well. We know that Eredivisie is a league we've been looking at quite heavily. Obviously, the likes of Kudus and Edson are testimony to that as well. Final plan to hold on to him until the end of the season, and so they imagine a number of clubs are going to come in from January bids, and West Ham apparently are going to be one of them. So don't know where we're going to get the money from, because obviously the issue being, and I've seen people talk about money and what we spent. You're right, people are right. The money we got in the summer is less than the money we spent, but that doesn't mean we underspent. In fact, we overspent really in terms of FFP requirements. We're already on our FFP watch list. You've seen what's happened with Everton, particularly considering their points deduction was nothing to do with players. It was to do with their brand new stadium costs and interest on that. And they could have actually, to be fair, they could have got the bank, and the bank could have taken the money, but they didn't take it. They actually took, so out of their own pocket. Regardless of that, we got to be very careful. So yes, we didn't, but some of that money that obviously we accrued from the sale of Declan Rice, Skamaka, Vlasic, is to basically assure we don't go too far into the red and then have FFP sanctions put against us. So, and people say, what about Man United, Man City and Chelsea? We know there's a biasness, really. We know. I mean, that's Everton. That was one discrepancy, so to speak. Man City got 115. So, you can imagine what's going to happen with them eventually, hopefully, to be put into account for their financial naughtiness. So we've got to be careful, but we have to go and look for the right player and spend the right amount of money, and also recoup some of the money by selling squad fringe players. I think one of the ones we would have sold would be Danny Ings, but obviously, to be honest, at the moment we sort of need him. So yeah, but maybe Gimenez might be the one. Maybe the one, or maybe they might bring through some money which they had. We're going to earmark for the summer transfer window, and then spend less in the summer, and then it's across a 3-year period in terms of what we can accrue in terms of debt. But I don't know. There's been a lot. Another one is Jonathan David, the Daily Mirror. They've been very busy. I've also reported that we've been linked with him, and we're keeping an eye on him. A very close eye, apparently, on the £52 million 23-year-old. I can't believe he's only 23. We've been linked to him for years. We know he's an option. We know about him. He won't come cheap. We know that as well. He's an absolute speedster. He's a fantastic finisher. 24 goals in 37 league appearances last season, and he's got 25 goals in 42 appearances for Canada. Fantastic option, but again, he's going to come with a hefty price tag. He is on the young age as well, so there is that sort of profile. But for £52 million, are you going to make your money back on him? Probably not. You might do. You might get 60. It depends how much he goes for. How much we get him for, but you never know. We know the French league is always a bit tricky in terms of finances, so you might be able to get yourself a bargain potentially. Or could it be Dominic Solanke? Again, reports of interest to him have really sort of ramped up in the last few days. We had a £40 million bid turned down for him in the summer, allegedly. So, he's in good form, 6 goals in 12 Premier League appearances so far this season. So you'd think for a January move, you're going to be probably paying £50 million for him, which I think is far too much for him, in all honesty, for the 26-year-old. I think this one is not dead in the water, but I think I can't see Steidten signing off on £50 million for a 26-year-old Premier League striker. I think you can get a lot better options. You can get for money, a lot cheaper money, to be honest. For example, I know he's a little bit older, but the Stuttgart forward, Sergio Guirassy, we've spoken about him quite a bit. And according to 90 Minutes, obviously, we are one of several clubs that are considering a move for him. He is 27, but he's going to cost a lot less. The report claims that the infant striker has a release clause of just £15 million, which is more tempting for someone like West Ham, as well as the likes of Brentford, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Burnley, Bournemouth are also interested. Everton were as well, but they're not going to be spending any money, really. But Sky Germany recently discussed his situation, explaining that he's not willing to sign a new deal, which would remove the clause in his contract. We know that the clause is said to be less than 17.5 million. I believe it's £15 million. While the clause in the summer is up, meaning a club activates the clause in the summer, then Guirassy has a choice to leave. However, he's not interested in leaving Stuttgart in the winter. We'll wait and see. The 27-year-old wants to finish the season at the club, and as he enjoys the appreciation he receives from the club and team. Stuttgart are trying to renegotiate the summer clause, whether that will be removed up in the price or the clause, or even trying to offer him a new deal, more money. But at the current moment, he's not interested in the new deal. So, it's all to play for. A good January transfer move in for a Premier League side might be enough to tempt him, particularly in a Euro year as well, in terms of making sure he's getting lots of high profile Premier League appearances, maybe in terms of getting into the is he French? Is he French international? I thought he was. Let me just check. I might be totally Guirassy. Cyril Guirassy. He might not be. I might be got it totally. No, sorry, he's New Guinea, isn't he? Yeah, he's New Guinea. Yeah, he's not French. He's French born, but yeah, Guinea. He's born in Erez, in France. But he plays for internationally for Guinea. 10 appearances, 3 goals so far. So again, a Guinea in the what's the name? Are they in the old Afcons? I don't know. Quite possibly. Should have probably looked this up beforehand, to be honest, but hey ho. So he might not be the best bet for January potentially. I don't think they are in the AFCONs though. I'm gonna have to check now. There's so many things they have to play with now. AFCONs. Let me have a quick check now. Qualification, Guinea, Ecuador, Guinea are, and Guinea are as well. Yes, so they are. So yeah, he's probably gonna be playing in the AFCON. So let's scrap that one for the time being, unless you're getting 15 million quid, and then I'll have Danny Ings for a couple of weeks and he can come back in. That'll do me fine. Let's move on and talk about some other players we've been linked with. Right backs. We've been linked. We're gonna do a few more Hammers headlines, but just for this sort of round of rumours. Celta Vigo's Oscar Minguez has ended up on West Ham's transfer agenda, apparently, according to my favourite media outlet, Fajijas.net, who states that the Hammers are keeping an eye on La Liga, and the 24-year-old is a player they like the most. He's a right back. And at times can also play right back, and also can play right wing back as well, which is really useful, particularly if a new manager comes in and he wants to play a different style of football next year. So there's options there. He's got a goal and 2 assists in 14 games this season. He's a key player for the Spanish side, and his career has basically gone up a massive step since Rafa Benitez came in and took over. And this has drawn the attention of West Ham, particularly. The report adds West Ham are close to trying to seal a deal for around 20 million euros. And if they make this offer, so how can you seal it if you don't make it? I don't know. Celta Vigo would accept without condition. They're desperate for money, apparently. He would be open to a switch, the former Barcelona man, and with Soufal, Ben Johnson as the 2 right backs. Yes, Tilo Kehrer maybe as a push. Although we believe that Vladimir Soufal, the naughty boy, is going to be offered an extension, his 1-year extension to his contract at least. It would make sense to make a move to bring him in, and maybe have him as the number 1 and Soufal as a very good backup. Being 31, he's coming to the age. This guy's 24, and the fullbacks are a position. We've got Emerson, and he's definitely upgraded our left side, but that right side does need an upgrade. I mean, Guedes could be that player. He could be that player potentially. We shall see. And last but no means least, let's talk about Albert Gudmundsson. We all know him from Genoa. We all know the winger from Genoa, but apparently the Irons are in pursuit of him, and he's an interesting option. Apparently, the Iceland international is versatile. He can play out wide, through the centre, and as a second striker, and that's what he's currently done for Genoa under the manager Alberto Gilardino. Oh, yeah, I know him. He's been deployed as a second striker behind a previous West Ham link, which was Matteo, what's his surname? Retighi, the Italian international Argentinian player, where he's scored 5 goals in 12 appearances for Serie A this season. He was rewarded with a new contract on Friday as a result of his excellent performances, but that hasn't deterred Tim Steidten. And according to Casa Mercato, West Ham are ready to break the bank for Gudmundsson, and will have no problem paying his asking fee, which is around about £17.5 million, apparently. And we're not the only ones interested in Albert. We've got rivals from the Premier League, as well as Napoli and Roma are mentioned as all suitors for the player. It'll be interesting to see if anyone comes out on top. The fact he's versatile, he's in good form, and he's a very similar sort of setup as a player to something like Kudus. Not the levels of Kudus, but he's very similar in that fact that he can play a number of positions. He's very quick. He's diminutive. He's got a low centre of gravity, and for £17.5 million, it could be a price worth paying, to be honest. So there's a lot of options, and what I like about the last two, about Minguez and about Albert, is they're under the radar a little bit. They got a bit more validity, I think, to those type of rumours. Sort of because Steidten tends to go for those types of players, the guys who maybe are not hitting the headlines, or they're hitting the headlines in a side lower down in the league, or in a different league entirely where they're not getting much profile. That's, to me, the type of profile the type of player that he's going to be bringing in. Maybe not the likes of Santiago Gimenez, who I really, really love. I think he's a fantastic player, but I just think maybe it's a bit too high profile for us in terms of, the type of player we're looking to bring in. We're bringing in young, hungry players who can adapt to systems, who can, they're not one way or the highway. That's the issue we've had so far. I think particularly strikers, we've gone one way and we've bought players and we've tried to squeeze them in, the last piece of the puzzle, but it's a completely different puzzle, so the piece doesn't fit doesn't fit at all. And I think that's always been the issue. But it seems now we're trying to bring in players who are adaptable and who can play multiple positions, but also can play in multiple types of football, of style of football as well, which will benefit, when a new manager comes in, because there will be some point of time, they can adapt. So it's not like, right, you've all got to go because you're all Moyes' people and, he wants to, that's what you need. Anyway, as I said, if you're new around here, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a bloody good subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Always helps. Thank you. And we're back for Hammers Headlines in a couple of hours' time. Take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, my friends. And I'll see you bloody soon. Irons!